points about TRICHY alone, madam. Sir, in this topic also, example of TRICHY, because it's a tier 2 city, it's a non-metro city, and most of us belong to tier 2 or tier 3 cities, establishing a hub and spoke model where every flight has to go to Chennai and then come back rather than interconnectivity is actually increasing cost. So I request the minister to actually have a differentiation or more efficient hub and spoke model. The last point is we have very few MROs in the country, madam, maintenance, repair and overall facilities, where there's enough land in tier 2 cities and only the tier 1 cities have MRO. And because in the tier 1 cities, because of the expense, it's still very expensive. So I request through you, madam, that the minister should consider actually opening up more MROs and hence improving the facility of the country. Thank you for the opportunity, madam. Thank you so much.
Shri Swagat Roy. Shri Arun Nehru.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for the opportunity. We are in a very critical point in the growth of this country, madam. For that, I think the structural changes started from 91 onwards. The great stalwarts who were able to get our country going, I thank them first, I salute them first. But today, we are in the very important topic of connectivity through airfares, through air connectivity and its related infrastructure. I will put my points across in 10 basic segments, madam. The first important is the issues in the last 10 years has actually come to us in the last 2 weeks. All of us have been invariably, inconvenienced because of those policies which had happened here. The policies were very well intentioned, good intention. The intention was to have very low fares and get more people on board, get people from point A to point B faster. Now, what had happened is there was a market concentration. Now, there are lot of members have read about market concentrations and its risk. Now, market concentration is risk irrespective of its being a capitalist or a socialist society. Now, India's air market is dominated by 2 players. And unfortunately, some of the policies that helped us get this connectivity to actually have various tags, the largest number of aircraft orders, the largest number of people getting airborne, the largest number of growth in terms of air traffic, and we have got good numbers. We've got good numbers to show this world. But where has this got us to? The leading carrier has, in 60% of the routes, that's the only carrier. So imagine if you're the only carrier, the pricing power or the domination power in terms of seat availability or the slot timings, that's one segment on the soft part. On the hard part, the hard, landing part, where the airport operator, in spite of spending large amounts of money, is actually left to deal with only one airport operator. Hence, there is a lot of inefficiencies which actually seep finally into customer service, in terms of pricing power to the consumers, and in terms of the overall airport infrastructure that is available in our country. Now, the second point, which the government actually did it right. 2 years ago, they published the flight safety rules for aircrew, for the support crew, and the flight rotation, which is actually very well intentioned, a good cause. And it was happened 2 years ago. Now, there are a number of reminders, I believe, that I've read in the newspapers that, the Honorable Minister, along with the department, have taken a lot of efforts to remind the airlines to actually get ready for that implementation. Now, in the last week or so, in the last 3 weeks, ma'am, we have seen that the carriers actually didn't care even a bit about these rules coming into impact. And what they did was even more atrocious. They had invariably said no to those rules, and they had large-scale cancellation in order to force or have an access to each of the cities regularly every hour. Now, if you take the break-even, Udan gives a lot of incentives for the operators to operate the ATR, the turboprops, the smaller aircrafts. Now, the break-even point, because of the incentives of the government, is if the aircraft operator fills out 50 seats, it's break-even. So about 80 seats, 30 seats is profitable. Now, same aircraft, if they're able to use the larger aircraft, the jet engines, the break-even points out of the total 186 seats comes to approximately 110 seats, madam. So you see the unfair situation created to the consumer, where he has to use a turboprop but still be profitable, where the government intention was to connect to far-flung areas. So the request is, please give the Udan scheme, focus it to far-flung areas in the northeast, where they can actually get air service and pricing, and not the well-connected markets where the participant use this scheme to connect only well-connected markets and actually gouge pricing. And jet engine prices are actually cheaper than the turboprop, madam. Now, a lot of the users, a lot of the members would have traveled to the last mile using turboprop. And, it's for the, through you, madam, I asked the department to actually check on the effectiveness of the Udan scheme on the non-commercial routes which they actually wanted to implement. Now, the fifth point that I want to make here is infrastructure development. For some other reason, for whatever reason, all the policies have a very high entry point, madam. Of course, the government wants proper airport operator, well-funded airport operator who can actually tap the global markets. I think that has led to a
Honorable member, just give me a little. Honorable members, I'm to inform you that 5 hours have already been taken on this resolution, thus almost exhausting the time allotted for its discussion. As there are 3 more members to take part in the discussion on the resolution, the House has to extend time for further discussion on this resolution. If the House agrees, the time for discussion of the resolution may be extended by 1 hour. Is that okay? All right. Thank you. The time is extended by 1 hour. Honorable member, Mr. Nehru.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I was talking about the infrastructure delays and uneven regional development. Some of the metro areas and, in the south of India, we still have higher number of airports where the travel is still substantially higher compared to certain regions. Now, the high entry point is from the government's eye is to have a liquefiable or a liquid operator, or operator with enough cash flows, positive environment, because they have allowed certain operators to tap the global markets. And the global markets have very high standards. And one of the effects, or follow-on effects of such scheme is we have very high entry fees, madam. For the ticket, almost 25% of the ticket cost actually goes into taxes and airport fees, which the government is right to give the airport operator. But what happens is this very high entry point actually creates the opposite effect of what the government wants to do, which is actually keep prices low. So a good discussion about this or a good policy change improving or accessing new players will actually help rather than a very few players, madam. Now, passenger experience. Anybody experience Indigo would note, I'm sorry to name the airline, but anybody who's going through a dominant airline would know the service levels. If it's a no, it's a no. It's not service. It's actually, we have no choice. Because of this, there's so much pricing power, and they have a very dominant, practice of going. In fact, one of the newspapers actually mentioned, madam, the increase in the, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of increase in BP tablets if you actually take festival seasons. And that's just correlated to increase in air traffic. Madam, I'm just finishing, madam, just last point. Last point is the financial health of airlines. One of the, again, subset of the dominant power is actually because of the, dominant airlines. 2 points about TRICHY alone, madam. Sir, in this topic also, example of TRICHY, because it's a tier 2 city, it's a non-metro city, and most of us belong to tier 2 or tier 3 cities. Establishing a hub and spoke model where every flight has to go to Chennai and then come back rather than interconnectivity is actually increasing cost. So I request the minister to actually have a differentiation or more efficient hub and spoke model. The last point is we have very few MROs in the country, madam. Maintenance, repair, and overall facilities, where there's enough land in tier 2 cities, and only the tier 1 cities have MRO. And because in the tier 1 cities, because of the expense, it's still very expensive. So I request through you, madam, that the minister should consider actually opening up more MROs and hence improving the facility of the country. Thank you for the opportunity, madam. Thank you so much.
Shri Saugat Roy.